The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Afternoon, Brandon, Big B. Listen, I know what you're getting ready to bring to the table, so I'm going to shut up and let you bring it because it's amazing. But tell the folks about this cultish connection between Obama's mother and Fuddy. What's her name? Loretta? I don't remember. Loretta
Yeah.
Fuddy.
Or maybe DeLiana.
Yeah, tell the people about that. DeLiana, who just died in a plane crash, but it so happens that she was the one who released Obama's birth certificate as Director of Department of Health. This is just too amazing. It's surreal, people. But the connections have already been made. What we're going to tell you is fact. So, Brandon, tell them everything you know, because these people, the people listening, are not going to hear this anywhere else except on Freedom Friday. So tell them.
Yeah, and I have to say, a very astute T.P. Simmons follower turned us on to this.
Yeah.
And asked us if we would investigate it and check it out. So we did that and found all of the documentation in this article to be 100% factual. This stuff comes out of the biography of Barack Obama's supposed mother,
right.
As well as off of this cultish religion known as Subud, that is S-U-B-U-D, out of their website and their literature. So anybody who's been following the birth certificate might have picked up a while back that one of the last names that seemed to be associated, at least in one instance, with Obama was Soebarkah, S-O-E-B-A-R-K-A-H. Now, that came off of a passport extension that his mother filed in Indonesia when Obama was just a very small child. She had that listed on the second page, but then crossed it out and never added him to her passport. Now, there's speculation as to why she may have done that. Either she wanted him to have his own passport and not be left passportless and not be able to travel with her as she moved around a lot, or there's a very good possibility that she simply could not produce birth documents for this child.
Right.
And that seems more and more likely.
Right.
But here's where it gets weird. This religion, which now this is just crazy. The world headquarters of this religion that was founded in Indonesia in the 20s is based in none other U.S. city than Chicago.
Yep.
The world headquarters of this religion. Now, we say it's a cult because basically it's an early version of the New Age movement.
Right.
They encourage you to be affiliated with other religions, but this is kind of like the catch-all. You come here, you feel good, you pray to whatever you think is God or entity you think is God, and we just all get along and live happily ever after.
Right.
That's the nuts and bolts of this thing. So now, Loretta Fuddy, at the time of her death, was known in this religion, in their literature, she's pictured many times, and is known as DeLiana, D-E-L-I-A-N-A, DeLiana Fuddy. They released some statements right after her death, saying, you know, how sorry they were for her death, but at the time of her death, she was chairwoman of Subud USA, that is based in Seattle. Okay?
Okay.
Now, how about this? Obama's supposed mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, was a member, as documented in her biography, of this same cultish religion during the time she was in Indonesia, and it looks like she was probably introduced to it in Hawaii in the 60s, because it hit Hawaii in the 60s and kind of got to be a big deal there, and we know she spent some time there during that time frame.
Right.
So understand this, that this Fuddy lady, who is put in charge of the Department of Health in Hawaii, who eventually signs off on Obama's birth certificate as being legit. Now understand, she's placed in that position just a few months before she signs off on the birth certificate.
Now, I want you to say that again, Brandon, because many people don't know that. I think that I did know that from years ago when I was researching all of this, but I had forgotten it, and when all this came back up, and you and I were talking about the other day, it hit me like a ton of bricks in the face. I had failed to recall that, so say that again.
All right. Fuddy assumed the director position in Hawaii in January of 2011. Now, this is just 3 or 4 months before Obama's long-form birth certificate goes out on the White House. That's now been proven a fraud. So, and she signed off on it.
So how convenient, people, that the Department of Health director is assigned, given that position, just a few months prior to Obama producing a birth certificate that we now know is a 1,000% fraud. And it just so happens that Fuddy was put in there a couple of months before. It just so happens she was a part of the same cult that Obama's mother was a part of. And it just so happens when a plane goes down, she's the only person that dies just before Arpaio brings out his devastating evidence in all of this.
Yes. And I've got to say this, the person that wrote this article where I got a lot of this information, and I fact-checked all of this, it is legitimate. Every bit of this I've backed up with documentation. But they talk about Fuddy's death, and they say, who has apparently succumbed to a nasty case of post-random plane crash-induced arrhythmia.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was an excellent observation and way to put it on their part.
Right. In other words, tongue-in-cheek, they don't think that she had any heart attack either. In fact, her own son, has questioned it. And he's, no, my mother didn't have.
So just understand that this lady, Fuddy, Obama's mother, both involved in the same cult. Fuddy, at one time, the director of the chairwoman of this cult for the entire United States. The world headquarters of this cult is in Chicago.
Right.
Okay? Fuddy placed in this office in Hawaii just about 3 months before she signs off on Obama's birth certificate.
Right.
Okay? Then, after all this stuff starts to blow up, she mysteriously dies.
Right.
This doesn't happen by accident.
Right. No.
There's way too many connections. Things are getting weirder and weirder by the day.
And then when you count all that I know from the Arpaio Zulo investigation, and then the stuff I don't know, Zulo's been telling me over the phone, there's so much more to this that you don't even know now, Carl. It's mind-boggling, which is why Mike Zulo says in March, universe-shattering information is coming forward. Listen, I want to correct myself. I said Fuddy's son doesn't believe the autopsy, but it's her brother. Her brother. I want to make that clear because I know this video is going to go all over the internet. So.
And I know we've got to wrap up here, but let me just encourage people. Think about this. We're reporting something here that you have not heard anywhere else.
Right.
Okay? And here's how we got this. An astute P.P. Simmons follower sent us this information and asked us to research it because not everyone has time to do that. That's what we do at P.P. Simmons.
Right.
So let me just encourage people. If you run across stuff like this, send it to us and just drop a note. Just say, hey, I found this. It looks interesting. Check it out. Right. And we'll do that. If there's nothing to it, you won't hear anything about it.
Right.
If it's factual information that we think has ties to other things, then we'll reveal it, just like this.
Right.
So feel free, people. Send us information. I mean, we certainly don't find all the stuff that's floating around out there. So, I'm just encourage people, send it to us. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's well said, Brendan. And we're doing what the mainstream media used to do and should still be doing, but now the mainstream media is tied directly to the government, and you're not going to hear this.
The alternative media is now the real media.
It really is. Yeah.
Your Drudge Reports, your WorldNet Dailies, your P.P. Simmons, your InfoWars, your Michael Savages of talk radio, your Alex Joneses of talk radio, your Carl Gallups of talk radio. That is where you are getting factual news, not government talking points.
Absolutely.
I just want to encourage people, I say this all the time, turn your TVs off. Turn your TVs off. Get away from the government propaganda box. You're being fed a line of lies and government talking points.
Brandon, we got to go. The music's playing. We've got to go. Thank you so much. We'll have you on next Friday, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. God bless you. That's Brandon Big B. Folks, we're slap out of time. Go to carlgallops.com tomorrow. Get a podcast of all of this. Go to my website. Go to Amazon. Get the book. Get the book. The first printing's gone. Get in on the second printing. Get the movie. The Rabbi Who Found Messiah. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. God bless you. God bless America.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.